Greetings, I am Verne Gagne, and I'm sure you're wondering why we're discussing the impact of Hulk Hogan in the AWA. Is it possible that his time with us was more influential than his run in the WWF? Let's be open here. Without my assistance, when this individual came to me, Hulk Hogan wouldn't have amounted to much. It might surprise you to know that the complete development of the Hulk Hogan character took place under my AWA banner between 1981 and 1983, before Vince McMahon made significant moves in 1984. Like a vampire, McMahon drained talent from every major wrestling promotion, including mine. This is why AWA Super Sunday stands out as a crucial night in wrestling history, held at the St. Paul Civic Center, the heart and soul of the AWA, where Nick Bockwinkel put his AWA title on the line against Hulk Hogan. Certain pro wrestling critics believe that Jim Crockett Promotions and the AWA had a similar trajectory compared to the WWF. In the realm of supercard traditions, Jim and I embarked on a shared journey, bursting onto the scene with explosive energy, only to see our ambitions fade within a decade. Despite our separate paths, we both succumbed to the allure of half-hearted attempts at regaining momentum, only to realize we were lagging further behind than we had anticipated in the tumultuous era of Vince McMahon's expansion. My wrestling enterprise, alongside Jim Crockett Promotions, endured 5 distinct stages of grief. Initially, I steadfastly resisted any mention of Hulk Hogan's departure to Vince's domain. Yet, this silver-tongued charmer ignited a box office phenomenon, propelling the wrestling industry to unprecedented heights. Pride clouded my judgment, preventing me from acknowledging Hogan's stardom before he sought greener pastures under Vince Jr.'s banner in Japan. I foolishly dismissed his impact, choosing to focus on my AWA promotion, buoyed by talents like Jerry Blackwell, the Road Warriors, Rockers, and Scott Hall. I deluded myself into believing that we could withstand the storm. As I ascended the ladder of success, I found myself plummeting into the abyss of despair. The business that once flourished under my meticulous guidance had withered away, leaving me grappling with an insurmountable reality. It was beyond repair. The realization that my dedicated workforce and I had reached an irreversible dead end was a crushing blow. With each passing day, the weight of the situation grew heavier, pressing down on my shoulders like an unyielding burden. The mansion on Lake Minnetonka, a symbol of my triumph and a setting in the iconic film The Wrestler, slipped through my grasp due to an eminent domain case. It was as if the very foundation of my success had been eroded, leaving me bereft and adrift in a sea of despair. The loss of the mansion was a devastating blow, not just financially, but also emotionally. It represented the culmination of years of hard work and dedication, now reduced to a distant memory. The symbols of my business and success had vanished, and with them went a part of myself. It was a time in the wrestling business when we both found ourselves caught in the trap of our own aspirations, leading to the downfall of our ventures. Take Jim Crockett Promotions, for instance. They were on a roll, dominating TBS with their exciting product and talented roster. They bought wrestling territories left and right, expanding their reach and challenging Vince McMahon's dominance. But somewhere along the way, they overreached, moving their headquarters away from their roots in Greensboro, North Carolina, and spreading their resources too thin. The result was a financial disaster that ultimately brought them down. A similar fate befell me after the success of Super Sunday '83. I found myself managing the Cow Palace, and then I was out in Las Vegas, trying to prove something by running shows in the Meadowlands and Atlantic City. In retrospect, it was a case of biting off more than I could chew, of chasing after something that was ultimately out of reach. It's like we both thought that by spreading our wings and taking on the establishment, we could somehow triumph. But we failed to realize that our wings had already been clipped and our ambitions were doomed to fail. Let's shift the focus from my personal woes to the burning questions that occupy your thoughts. First, how did Hogan find his way to Minnesota? And secondly, what led me to select him? Hogan didn't conform to the classic Verne Gagne wrestler archetype. My preference leaned towards technical wrestlers who could captivate audiences with lengthy, intricate matches. But I wasn't entirely wedded to tradition and couldn't foresee the box office magnetism of someone who defied the norms. On that fateful day, I not only acquired Hulk Hogan, but I also demonstrated to Vince McMahon the untapped potential Hogan held for the industry. Fans were drawn to him in a manner that compelled them to purchase tickets. It was an intuitive recognition on my part, something I should be credited for rather than criticized as outdated in my presentation of wrestling shows. I may have been a couple of years behind the colossal changes sweeping through the wrestling landscape, stubbornly dismissing Vince McMahon as a passing fad. But my eyes were eventually opened, and Hogan's impact on the business could no longer be ignored. In the dim light of the morning, I awoke from a troubled sleep, my reflection in the mirror revealing a sense of stagnation, a feeling of being 10 years behind in my creative endeavors. The rise of Hulk Hogan as a major headliner ignited a sense of fairness within me, and I saw it fit to introduce him to my daughter, Kathy Gagne, through social gatherings and intimate dinners. This became a recurring theme in the lead up to Super Sunday '83, as I aimed to teach Hogan a valuable lesson. When push came to shove, I was the genuine article in this business, the architect who had built this empire from the ground up. In the face of potential threats to my territory, I sought a loyal champion, a warrior who would safeguard the best interests of my domain. Hulk Hogan should have recognized the privilege of being positioned with my daughter, a catch of unmatched value. The gargantuan grappler, despite his lucrative triumphs in New Japan Pro Wrestling, remained unmoved by the proposal. This incident serves as a testament to the profound impact of Hulkamania, not only in Japan, but also in the American Wrestling Association. It is crucial to acknowledge that Hulkamania originated in the AWA, where Hulk Hogan cultivated his signature persona and catchphrases that captivated audiences on AWA television. This platform served as the launchpad for his subsequent successes in New Japan and beyond. Hogan's remarkable journey culminated in his participation in the inaugural IWGP Heavyweight title tournament in 1983, where he faced Antonio Inoki. His ascent to this prestigious event was attributed not solely to his unparalleled charisma as a babyface, but also to his imposing physical presence that commanded attention wherever he went. He towered over his opponents, embodying the superhero persona that was gaining traction during that era. Hogan's journey to Minnesota, the pro wrestling hotbed offering favorable working conditions and financial rewards, was sparked by the lack of available match tapes. Instead, he sent 8x10 prints from his role as Thunderlips in Rocky III, showcasing his physical prowess and charisma. Recognizing Hogan's potential, I invited him to join our territory as soon as possible. The timing was impeccable, as one of our top babyface draws, the Crusher, was about to embark on his annual summer hiatus. Having achieved immense success in the AWA from the 1960s to the 1980s, Crusher sought greener pastures, joining Vince McMahon Jr.'s WWF, a part-time wrestler. This created an opportune gap for a new babyface to captivate the fan. Admittedly, I sought my son's assistance in evaluating Hogan. Initially unfamiliar with him, Greg recalled seeing Hogan in New York, noting his impressive size but average skills. Despite this assessment, Hogan expressed his determination to give pro wrestling another chance during our phone conversation. In my creative hands, I possessed a malleable block of clay, a wrestler named Hulk Hogan with immense potential. Instead of immediately positioning him as a fan favorite, I crafted a distinct persona for him, superstar Billy Graham. This character exuded an air of arrogance, boasting bulging muscles, a golden tan, and a Venice Beach bodybuilder aesthetic. To enhance his appeal, I paired Hogan with the enigmatic Johnny Valiant as his manager. Valiant's gift for delivering compelling promos compensated for Hogan's initial limitations in that area. Hogan's first television appearance was meticulously orchestrated to create an aura of mystique. With his back to the camera, he remained silent, allowing his physical presence to speak volumes. I cultivated this enigmatic persona by referring to him as Mr. Skyscraper, the man with the world's largest 24-inch biceps. Hogan's heel persona ignited significant animosity among the audience, and after a few weeks, I decided to remove Johnny Valiant from his managerial role. Hogan continued to appear with his back to the camera, teasing the audience with glimpses of his imposing physique. The catch was that to witness this wrestling behemoth in action, fans had to purchase tickets to the live arena. This strategy aligned perfectly with the era when television wrestling shows were primarily intended to promote ticket sales. When Hulk Hogan made his debut as a villainous heel, the unexpected occurred. The audience embraced him with thunderous cheers rather than the anticipated jeers. Realizing this pivotal moment, I promptly altered my strategy. Hogan's transformation from ruthless heel to beloved babyface would be cemented through a captivating storyline. In this captivating narrative, Hogan would heroically rescue the fan, favorite Brad Ragans, from the clutches of the menacing antagonist, Jerry Blackwell. This pivotal moment would serve as a catalyst, propelling Hogan to the forefront of the wrestling world. To ensure Hogan's success, I meticulously selected opponents who he could effortlessly defeat, allowing him to accumulate valuable match experience and hone his skills. This strategy proved to be a resounding success, transforming Hogan from a raw talent into a polished and formidable athlete. With meticulous guidance, I refined Hogan's techniques, teaching him the art of grappling, striking, and engaging the crowd. This transformation resulted in overwhelming popularity and financial rewards, solidifying Hogan's status as a bona fide wrestling icon. In the weeks leading up to the AWA Super Sunday Showdown between Hulk Hogan and Nick Bockwinkel for the AWA Championship, I crafted a storyline that kept fans on the edge of their seats. Hogan and Bockwinkel crossed paths in multiple towns, with several thrilling false title finishes that left the audience clamoring for more. While some may argue that I pushed the fans' patience, the anticipation for Hogan's potential victory was at an all-time high. On the fateful night of AWA Super Sunday, a massive crowd filled the Roy Wilkins Auditorium, and an overflow crowd watched the closed circuit broadcast. The atmosphere was electric as anticipation for Hogan's triumph reached its peak. However, in a surprising turn of events, Hogan paid homage to Bockwinkel, acknowledging his mentorship and resilience. Hogan's match against Bockwinkel showcased a strategic approach that highlighted Bockwinkel's skills and experience. Together, they crafted a narrative that showcased Hogan's potential while elevating Bockwinkel's status as a formidable champion. Hogan's athletic limitations were cleverly concealed thanks to Bockwinkel's cunning tactics. Prior to joining the AWA, Hogan underwent training in various territories, including Florida, Alabama, and Vince Sr.'s promotion, where he was managed by Fred Blassie. However, it was my guidance that helped Hogan evolve from a stale performer into the charismatic icon he would become. I instilled in Hogan a new approach to wrestling, emphasizing his resilience and refusal to yield. Instead of succumbing to a single drop kick or punch, Hogan would absorb the impact, demonstrating his unwavering determination. This transformation laid the foundation for Hogan's future success and cemented his status as a legend in the world of professional wrestling. Through our collaboration, Hogan discovered his inner superhero, a persona that resonated with the masses and elevated him to legendary status. He acknowledged that this transformation was something he never envisioned for himself, but my guidance unlocked his potential and shaped his psychology as the ultimate hero. Prior to the rise of Hulk Hogan, the wrestling industry had a lineup of iconic figures like myself, Crusher, Bruiser, Dick Murdoch, Ray Stevens, who played a significant role in shaping the AWA territory during the thriving 1970s. We were able to attract sizable crowds and earn decent money. But when Hogan emerged during the Hulkamania era, he almost single-handedly doubled, if not surpassed, the success we had achieved in those towns. Hogan's presence transformed the AWA into a formidable force, with his drawing power resulting in an average attendance of 8,000 per show in the Twin Cities. Even when Hogan split his time between New Japan and the AWA, he continued to draw massive crowds of 8,000 and a staggering 16,000 when headlining in Japan. He was undeniably an extraordinary attraction, making him an obvious choice for McMahon. Vince had no other viable options to pursue his ambitious plans, and he deserves credit for recognizing Hogan's star power. It wasn't as if Vince stumbled upon Hogan randomly in Tampa. No, it was I who played a part in the creation of Hulkamania. With a charismatic persona, Hulk Hogan amped up his character development while he simultaneously emerged with the iconic Rocky III theme music as his signature entrant. This strategic move not only generated substantial revenue, but also catapulted him into the limelight, attracting the attention of both myself and countless fans. At that time, it was uncommon for professional wrestlers to receive prominent roles in major motion pictures. Before this cinematic opportunity, Hogan was not the most obvious choice for such a role. He didn't possess a higher standing than his peers. However, the combination of Rocky III's popularity and my visionary touch elevated Hogan onto a new platform, solidifying his image as a wrestling superstar. Hogan's journey toward becoming a household name had intriguing origins. Before he embraced the real American theme in the WWF, he entered the ring to the beat of Eye of the Tiger in the AWA. This moment marked a pivotal shift in his career. The electrifying energy generated by Eye of the Tiger resonated with audiences, inspiring Hogan to adopt his signature T-shirt ripping ritual. This act became synonymous with his name, ultimately leading to the coining of his legendary phrase, Hulkamania. Seizing the moment, Hogan became an entrepreneurial pioneer, peddling custom T-shirts adorned with his unique catchphrases, the trunk of his car serving as his makeshift storefront. This savvy merchandising strategy bore fruit when he returned to Minneapolis and stumbled upon a revelation. Hulkamania shirts were ubiquitous, flying off the shelves like hotcakes. A perplexed Hogan approached me with a burning question. How could shirts bearing his likeness be proliferating overseas while he wrestled in faraway New Japan? It was then that the realization dawned upon him. He was being deprived of a rightful share of the profits. With unwavering determination, Hogan asserted his claim. "Where's my cut?" In a showdown that sizzled with intensity, I confronted the legendary Hulk Hogan, catching his gaze with a piercing stare. In no uncertain terms, I stated, "Hogan, listen up. Without me, you wouldn't be the Hogan the world knows. I made you who you are, and that's a fact. Don't try to shortchange me with your petty calculations on T-shirt profits. We're raking in incredible revenue, and you're haggling over minor details. Seriously." On a fateful day during our hectic schedule of shooting promos and conducting interviews for various markets, Hogan approached me with a concern about the T-shirts. Through a brief exchange of words, I couldn't help but question Hogan's knowledge imparted by Matsuda. Hogan, however, confidently responded with a statement implying his ability to overpower me. Being fueled by this challenge, I impulsively rose from my chair, my feet frantically propelling me towards Hogan. But, alas, my enthusiasm caused me to lose my balance, leading to a rather embarrassing fall right into Hogan's guillotine choke, or, as we call it in the industry, a front chin lock. After Hogan released his hold, I regained my composure despite my disheveled hair and defiantly declared that this encounter was far from its conclusion. In the midst of the tense situation, I sought refuge in the bathroom, hoping to gather my thoughts and compose myself. However, fate had a different plan. As I stood there, a commotion erupted from the main room, drawing me back out. My son, Greg, fueled by an unwavering sense of loyalty, had decided to shed his sweater, ready to defend my honor. Just as he was about to do so, an unexpected figure emerged from the crowd, none other than the legendary WWF Dr. D. David Schultz. With a stern voice, Schultz addressed my son, uttering the cryptic words, "If I were you, I'd put that sweater back on." The moment hung heavy in the air, and from that point forward, the tension dissipated, and the incident concluded without further escalation. In the aftermath of a heated conflict, we were compelled to cancel a scheduled show. Subsequently, as excitement for AWA Super Sunday mounted, we took the bold step of doubling the ticket prices. It was at this juncture that I introduced Stanley Blackburn, an esteemed figure who assumed the role of AWA president. His presence at any event signaled the possibility of momentous happenings, including title changes. On the night of Super Sunday 1983, instead of offering apologies to Hulk, I approached him with a proposition. I informed him that the championship belt would be his that evening, but on one condition: I would receive half of his New Japan deal. In this business, percentages are paramount. Right is right, and I maintain the rights to him in their entirety. Hogan's reaction was ignited by my attempt at playing Cupid between him and my daughter, an idea that may appear unconventional at first. However, as fate would have it, my daughter eventually marries another AWA wrestler, Larry Zbyszko, and it becomes evident that there was some reasoning behind my matchmaking endeavors. You see, in our family, maintaining connections is of the utmost importance. When you are married into the Gagne family, you can rest assured that loyalty and commitment trump any temptation of monetary gains elsewhere. Hogan, on the other hand, lacks the refinement and tact to appreciate the beauty of my daughter, for he audaciously claims that she possesses a marvelous physique but an unattractive face, similar to my son Greg. In a desperate attempt to salvage a deal, I proposed an enticing counteroffer to Hogan, the AWA title, in exchange for a meager 10% of his current earnings and a 50% share of any deals associated with the title. Unfortunately, Hogan remained resolute in his refusal, leaving Bockwinkel seething with anger. As the title match commenced, Bockwinkel's pent-up rage manifested in a series of stiff, intentional blows aimed at Hogan. The ring transformed into a battleground as Hogan retaliated with a flurry of punches, determined to put Bockwinkel in his place. In a brutal moment, Bockwinkel targeted Hogan's sternum with a malicious punch, intending to knock the wind out of him and assert his dominance. However, Hogan, fueled by determination, responded with a swift blow to Bockwinkel's head, momentarily stunning him. The aftermath of this unplanned turn of events resulted in a sloppy finish to the match, with Bockwinkel struggling to execute the sleeper hold properly. Despite the obvious tension and animosity between the two wrestlers, I knew that crowning Hogan as the champion was the right move. However, it soon became apparent that the entire angle was a sham, a carefully orchestrated ruse to maintain Hogan's association with the AWA, while simultaneously exploiting him for financial gain. The promise of a fair deal was nothing more than an empty promise, leaving a bitter taste in my mouth. To those who guide others towards immense financial success, it becomes a monotonous tune when these individuals eventually feel cheated because deep down they believe they are entitled to a whopping 90% of the earnings. This mindset flaw is pervasive in our modern world and seems incurable. Personally, I believed Hogan had greater worth in his pursuit of becoming the champion. Goodness, did we exploit that exhausted metaphor to its absolute limit? The more I witnessed his relentless pursuit and failure to achieve it, the more I recognized the diminishing returns in that fruitless endeavor. In a pivotal moment that forever altered the trajectory of my affiliation with the adoring masses, I felt an irrevocable disconnect between myself and the very individuals who had elevated me to stardom. Hogan, with a determination that bordered on ultimatum, presented me with a proposal that demanded a substantial 50% share of the profits generated from the AWA t-shirt sale. Failure to comply, he brazenly declared, would see him depart for the northern realm of the WWF. Undeterred by his demands, I stood my ground, resolute in my refusal to capitulate to his audacious request. Furthermore, I adamantly rejected his suggestion that he should work for New Japan instead of All Japan. This unwavering stance ultimately led to Hogan's departure from the AWA, forever etching a chasm between us. In a bustling apartment complex near the colossal Mall of America, Hulk Hogan resided in a spacious unit. This complex, known as the Versa Apartments, served as a popular dwelling for stewardesses employed at the airport. One fateful day, Hogan's phone rang, and on the other end was the enigmatic Vince McMahon, the man poised to take over his father's wrestling empire. With an air of confidence, McMahon laid out his grand vision to Hogan. He intended to revolutionize the wrestling industry, transcending the sacred boundaries that had long held it captive. McMahon's vision extended beyond professional wrestling. He aimed to create a new era of sports entertainment that would captivate audiences nationwide. To achieve this audacious goal, McMahon revealed his cunning strategy. He planned to negotiate deals with local TV stations, offering them more lucrative terms to broadcast of tapes without incurring additional expenses. This move would effectively dismantle the regional territories that had dominated the wrestling landscape for decades. McMahon's plan did not stop there. He intended to acquire the most prominent stars from rival promotions and showcase their talents in the WF ring, creating a wrestling spectacle never seen before. Hogan, intrigued by McMahon's audacious vision, found himself standing at the precipice of an unprecedented chapter in wrestling history. I must admit, I was severely outdated in my approach when it came to securing Hogan's commitment. Instead of formal, legally binding contracts, I simply relied on a handshake agreement. Little did I know, a week later, Hogan disappeared, leaving me high and dry without any notice or explanation. It was truly unethical for him to abandon our promotion, especially after falsely promoting his involvement. Nevertheless, even after losing him, I continued to market Hogan because I was determined to capitalize on the money I believed I was entitled to. This deceptive advertising strategy was something I employed with anyone who left during that era, whether they joined WWF or any other competition. Hulk's refusal to perform shows on December 18th and 19th revealed his true motivations, as Vince was offering him a greater sum to stay away. It became evident that not only did Vince Jr. have a hold on me, but he also aimed to eliminate any potential rivals in the industry. In the annals of wrestling broadcasting, Gene Okerlund reigned supreme as the original stickman and the lifeblood of AWA broadcasting. One fateful Monday morning, we had scheduled him to grace our studio with his presence for the taping of a whopping 20 syndicated programs. However, to our dismay, he found himself in the bustling streets of New York City on that very Sunday morning. We implored him to uphold his commitments to AWA and honor his scheduled taping session before seeking greener pastures elsewhere. However, just like Hulk Hogan before him, Okerlund echoed the siren call of lucrative opportunities beckoning him away from our humble abode. Clad in the iconic red and yellow attire, the Hulkamania phenomenon, Hulk Hogan, burst onto the scene, electrifying the atmosphere with his presence. To the unfamiliar eyes of the WWF fans in the North, this was their first glimpse of the enigmatic Hulk. The roar of the crowd reverberated through the arena as they embraced the reimagined Hulk of the 1980s, a symbol of power, charisma, and unwavering spirit. Hulkamania had arrived, igniting a meteoric rise that would reshape the landscape of professional wrestling forever. In the wrestling realm, Hogan, Okerlund, and Ventura were formidable talents who graced the AWA landscape. However, destiny had other plans as these iconic figures departed from the promotion. Among them was Jesse Ventura, a man who would rise to prominence and redefine the essence of color commentary in the wrestling industry. Initially, the stage was set for a captivating clash between Hogan and Ventura, a narrative that had captivated wrestling enthusiasts. However, fate intervened as Ventura's injuries and a blood clot curtailed these plans, leaving the wrestling world yearning for what could have been. In an audacious move, Vince McMahon extended his predatory reach beyond the ring, setting his sights on the esteemed TV director, Al DeRusha. It wasn't just the wrestlers who faced McMahon's wrath. He aimed to dismantle the very foundation of our production, targeting the unsung heroes who bring the magic to life. McMahon's actions were a testament to his relentless pursuit of dominance, leaving no stone unturned in his quest to destabilize our operations. He sought to disrupt the intricate web of our production, hoping to sow chaos and cripple our ability to deliver a seamless broadcast. In the aftermath of the captivating Super Sunday '83 event, the decision not to bestow the championship title upon Hogan didn't deter the fervent crowds that continued to flock to his matches. However, it was during an appearance on AWA television a week after the much-anticipated showdown that Hogan delivered a heart-rending promo that left an indelible mark on wrestling history. With a heavy heart, Hogan poured out his emotions to Gene Okerlund, expressing his profound disappointment and sense of failure. He acknowledged that his fans expected him to emerge victorious and claim the belt, yet he fell short of their fervent hopes. Overwhelmed by the weight of his unfulfilled promise, Hogan announced his decision to bid farewell to the AWA, leaving a void in the hearts of his loyal supporters. This heartfelt declaration marked the beginning of Hogan's 2-week hiatus from the wrestling world, during which he embarked on a transformative journey to New Japan, a renowned wrestling promotion that would witness his meteoric rise to stardom. Reflecting on Super Sunday '83, it truly stands out as an extraordinary event that had a massive impact on my region. It attracted a staggering 18,000 attendees, and when factoring in the additional 5,000 gathered at the neighboring Roy Wilkins Auditorium for the closed-circuit experience, the numbers reached an impressive 19,000. It was a spectacular occasion that brought in unprecedented business, marking our most significant show in the entire history of the AWA. The event generated a staggering $300,000 gate revenue, making it one of the largest sums ever recorded for professional wrestling in North America at the time, even before the introduction of Starrcade. We even took to promoting the event by informing our fans that if the Roy Wilkins Auditorium closed circuit sold out, we would open up Minneapolis for additional ticket sales in blocks. Ultimately, we managed to achieve a $300,000 gate revenue at the St. Paul Civic Center and an additional $100,000 at the Roy Wilkins Auditorium, culminating in an impressive overall total of $400,000. Undoubtedly, it was an unparalleled accomplishment. In the vibrant landscape of professional wrestling, a fierce battle for supremacy raged between two iconic figures, myself, the legendary AWA heavyweight champion, and a charismatic newcomer named Hulk Hogan, who captivated audiences with his electrifying presence. As Hogan's popularity soared, selling out arenas from St. Louis to San Francisco, I found myself at a crossroads. Imbued with a deep sense of reverence for the sport and its traditions, I believe that the AWA heavyweight title deserved a champion who embodied the values that had made wrestling great in the past. To me, this meant a rock-solid athlete, cut from the same cloth as the legends of the squared circle, not a flamboyant showman who seemed more suited to the stage than the ring. With unwavering determination, I decided to maintain my grip on the championship, ensuring that Hogan's quest for the gold would remain unfulfilled. In my eyes, the AWA title was not merely a belt, but a symbol of the sport's integrity and authenticity. I believed that it should be held by someone who represented the essence of what wrestling should be, not someone who was more concerned with flash and spectacle. And so I made the bold choice to keep the belt on Nick Bockwinkel, an aging 50-year-old former University of Oklahoma football player. Though he may not have possessed the youthful exuberance of Hogan, Bockwinkel was a true embodiment of what I believed a champion should be. A clean-cut, stout individual who exemplified the values of hard work, dedication, and respect for the sport. I understood that some may question my decision, but I stood firmly by my principles. To me, the AWA, a heavyweight title, was more than just a prize. It was a representation of the values and traditions that had made wrestling a beloved sport for generations, and I was determined to protect those values no matter the cost. In the midst of the grappling spectacle on December 15, 1983, a mystifying message fluttered across my desk like a telegram from destiny itself. The sender's name, Hogan, seared into my consciousness, carried both intrigue and consternation. The concise declaration, "I'm not coming back," hung in the air, leaving a void of uncertainty. I had known Eddie Graham, a revered promoter in the wrestling world, and my initial instinct was to dismiss this cryptic communique as a jest, a playful ploy to irk me. Hogan, after all, was scheduled to grace a show in Japan, and I believed Eddie was merely pulling my strings. To quell any lingering doubts, I reached out to Hogan's hotel room in Tokyo, only to be met with a deafening silence. The unanswered call echoed in my mind, amplifying the sense of unease. I then resorted to leaving a message on Eddie Graham's answering machine seeking confirmation of his alleged involvement. His response, however, cleared his name, leaving me grappling with the enigma further. A nagging question gnawed at me incessantly. How could Hogan, after recently netting a substantial $17,000 in our venture, simply vanish without a trace? As days turned into weeks, my attempts to connect with him remained futile. A second telegram bearing the same chilling message, "I'm not coming back, brother," arrived from the same Florida address. Its persistence was ominous, leaving me staring into an abyss of unanswered questions. In the bustling streets of Minneapolis, a pivotal encounter unfolded, forever altering the wrestling landscape. Vincent McMahon, heir to the wrestling empire, graced my presence, exuding an aura of charm and persuasion. Memories of his father, a man of integrity and vision, flooded my mind, prompting me to extend an invitation to the young entrepreneur, eager to hear his proposition. As I met with Vince Jr., I couldn't help but notice his polished demeanor, a stark contrast to his father's understated elegance. His slicked back pompadour and vibrant neon suits spoke of a bold personality, but it was his eyes that truly captivated me. They held a chilling intensity, piercing like hollow point bullets, revealing a steely resolve that left me unsettled. The meeting took an unexpected turn, leaving me no choice but to abruptly end our conversation. Undeterred, Vincent pressed on, reaching out 6 weeks later. This time, he delved into the intricacies of the AWA's operations, seeking insights into its inner workings. He also expressed interest in a St. and an ownership group heavily invested in the St. Louis territory. As much as I admired Vince's drive and ambition, I remained steadfast in my decision. I had poured years of blood, sweat, and tears into the AWA, and I had unwavering loyalty to my dedicated partners. The prospect of turning my back on them was simply unfathomable. In the shadows of secrecy, I stumbled upon a whisper, a plot orchestrated by none other than the ambitious Vince McMahon. His daring gambit involved a covert alliance with the owner of KPLR, the station that held the fate of our upcoming St. Louis wrestling show at the Chase. With a persuasive charm, he presented a proposal that sent shivers down my spine. Vince's vision was to seize control of the time slot, claiming that his company, WWF, possessed the power to transform the show into a spectacle worthy of St. Louis. Honeyed words dripped from his tongue as he assured the station that his production would not only deliver a superior show, but also line their pockets with a greater share of revenue. Intrigued by the young man's audacity, the owner of KPLR found himself captivated by Vince's charisma. An impression was left and a seed of doubt was sown in their hearts as they pondered the potential benefits of this audacious proposition. In the fading light of 1984, Vince Jr. made a striking appearance on WWF television, exuding an air of unwavering confidence. Alongside the editor of WWF Victory magazine, he painted a vivid picture of the seismic changes that would engulf the wrestling landscape. His words sent shivers down the spines of independent promoters who had recklessly dismissed his earlier predictions. With the fervor of a true wrestling aficionado, Vince Jr. stepped out of his announcer role and spoke from the heart. He declared 1984 as the year of unprecedented upheaval in the world of professional wrestling. Fueled by recent acquisitions and a growing buzz in the industry, he foresaw a tidal wave of talent crashing into the WWF's gates, ushering in an era like no other. What we failed to grasp and were loath to believe was that this surge of talent would come at a price. The arrival of these new gladiators would leave casualties in its wake, as the ever-shifting landscape of wrestling would demand sacrifices. The distinction between territorial owners like myself and Vincent McMahon was clear. We were simply regular guys running our franchises like any other business. We were well known in our communities, serving as local faces on television advertisements. Life was good, filled with a sense of success and comfort, living as millionaires in our own mansions. Each day, we followed a predictable routine. We'd wake up, head to the office by 10 a.m., sip on some coffee, and review plans for the upcoming week of matches. By 1 p.m., we'd leave the office, spend quality time with our partners, attend matches, promote our towns, collect our earnings, and then repeat the process the following week. However, Vince McMahon approached his role quite differently. He would be at his office by 8 a.m., tirelessly working until midnight. His ambitions extended far beyond becoming a local figurehead in his company. Instead, he envisioned innovative ways to make the business more thrilling and captivating than ever before. Simultaneously, he strategized methods to entice the most valuable assets from our territories. Once McMahon gained momentum, none of us territorial guys had any clue how to halt his progress. When Vince grasped control from his father, he lacked the authority and recognition to entice top wrestlers from the mid-Atlantic territories. Names like Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, Mangum Te, and the Road Warriors remained devoted to Jim Crockett. Luring them away was an insurmountable challenge. However, Vince cleverly set his sights on AWA roster, specifically Hulk Hogan. He recognized Hogan's potential to revolutionize wrestling on a national scale. With his charisma, captivating persona, and business acumen, Hogan was the catalyst Vince needed to achieve his grand vision. The risk was calculated and the stakes were high. By securing Hogan, Vince could elevate his company to unprecedented heights, leaving his rivals in the dust. Vince McMahon brought Hulk Hogan into the WWF. He embarked on an ambitious expansion plan, with Minneapolis being one of the stops on their tour. Vince claimed he had no intention of challenging my territory, but I saw it as an opportunity to make a statement. I decided to invade his territory in New York, believing that if he was going to encroach on my turf, I would do the same. However, entering a new market like New York without proper knowledge and resources is a recipe for disaster. Despite my attempts to run shows in New York and New Jersey, the ventures were largely unsuccessful. I lacked access to prominent venues, advertising know-how, and the financial clout to make a significant impact in that market. I didn't have the television presence in New York to worry Vince about my incursion into his territory. My efforts resulted in nothing but wasted money and a deeper financial hole for myself. The foray into New York was a costly mistake. In the realm of wrestling's tumultuous landscape, Bobby the Brain Heenan stands tall as a bastion of integrity, a man who remained steadfast in his commitments amidst an exodus of talent. As others abandoned ship, seeking greener pastures in New York, Heenan remained loyal, fulfilling his obligations with unwavering resolve. Heenan harbored no ill will toward me, acknowledging that I had treated him with fairness and respect. He sought employment with Vince Sr., only to be rebuffed due to the presence of established stars like Captain Lou Albano, the Grand Wizard, and Freddie Blassie. Though I endeavored to retain Heenan's services, his heart yearned for a new challenge, enticed by Vince's lucrative offer that nearly doubled his earnings. The allure of appearing on MSG Channel tapings at Madison Square Garden and the prospect of a broader horizon proved irresistible. At 44, Heenan yearned to seize this opportunity before time slipped through his fingers. He recognized the brilliance of Vince's imagination, how his television product transcended the boundaries of traditional wrestling, akin to the legendary PTD Barnum. This new chapter in Heenan's career brought him into the orbit of iconic figures like Hulk Hogan, Gene Okerlund, and David Schultz. Under Vince's tutelage, Heenan flourished, valued as a star and treated with the utmost respect. Heenan's unwavering commitment to his word and his audacious leap into uncharted territory serve as a testament to his character and his unwavering pursuit of excellence. He embraced the unknown, navigating the ever-changing landscape of professional wrestling with grace and determination, forever etching his name into the annals of wrestling history. In a wrestling world once dominated by regional promoters, the likes of Fritz von Erich, Eddie Graham, Bill Watts, and myself found ourselves outmatched by the meteoric rise of Vince McMahon. Our traditional mindset was focused on hoarding wealth and giving less to the wrestlers, proved inadequate against McMahon's innovative approach. The old school promoters lacked the creative vision and financial resources to keep up with McMahon's grand ambitions, leaving us stuck in the past while he raced towards the future.